Hi, welcome to the Aromatic Pipe. I'm Steve, and we're going to be talking about the art and pleasure of smoking aromatic pipe tobaccos. Well, I'm about halfway through the bowl here, and my bowl is barely warm. I'm noticing it more with the smoke than I am with the pipe in this case. This bowl's still a little thicker walled than what I find optimum. When you get the tobacco to where it's about halfway down in the pipe, so things have kind of, as the ash compresses and stuff, it's going to get a little warmer there in the tobacco is about here right now. So the tobacco is about right there, and it gets a little warmer right here, and you slow down. I pull it in very gently. They talk about sipping all the time, even with English tobaccos. And you can see there's no fussiness about keeping it lit or anything. I can just talk and we can have a conversation. I can swing my pipe and make a point. I can look very professorial. That's a good word. And you'll notice that it'll take longer for the tobacco to go from here down to here, because again, since we packed it real loosely, what's going to happen as you go down, our smoke gets more dense, or our pack gets more tense, our load. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm not fond of smoking ash. And I think a lot of times when people talk about smoking a pipe, there's all this business about making sure you build up the cake in the bottom, so you have to smoke the pipe all the way to the bottom. But what often happens is people just keep letting this ash build up and build up and build up, and you get to the bottom and they push down with their tamp, and they've just got this big old packed wad of ash on top of a little bit of tobacco, and this tobacco's wet down here because this has insulated it. So by puffing out while it's still in our mouth, every time we do that, there's some smoke that comes out of our mouth, and there's a little bit that comes out of the top of the bowl. And what that does is it keeps the load looser. And you'll notice once you get the hang of this that you won't have much, if any, gurgling at all down here. That's really what you want to get. It's a little trickier with a bent pipe, but even with a bent pipe, you don't necessarily have any gurgling if you use this method and keep things loose. Okay, there I let it go out. So what can happen then if you do get a little gurgling down there, try just blowing softly out. What that's going to do is run some of the heat up. That's a trick too. If the bowl gets a little too hot, try blowing out a couple times without sucking in. Softly. And you'll see it removes some of the heat from the bowl. This bowl still is not really warm, and it's a little warm. Now, what I was saying about the ash, when you start tasting ash instead of tobacco, people talk about when you first light the pipe, it's the best taste. It doesn't have to be that way. Your best taste, you should really get into the pipe a little bit before you really get the most taste, because the pipe has to warm up a little bit. But when you start getting some ash, just flip the pipe over a little bit and let some ash drop out. Take a puff. or a few puffs. Make sure it's going again, and you're set. And what happens is the cherry can actually get more air because it doesn't have all that ash on top, and it smokes easier. It actually keeps lit better. Now you don't want to knock the cherry out. You want to try to keep from doing that. Since we've just lit the middle, we haven't tried to light the whole top of the tobacco. What's actually happened is the cherry's kind of set down in, and it doesn't have as much of a tendency to fall out. At the same time, since we've compressed around the outside, that cherry will kind of grow. So it kind of goes down. We're pulling air all the way around the cherry is what we're doing. And that gives us the most flavor. You're heating up, you have a nice surface area of the cherry, you're pulling in air all around it, and you get the most flavor that way. Easy. Again, I'm not really pressing down. I'm knocking down ash. Now, if I want to cool the pipe down a little bit more, what I might do is flatten this out on top of the cherry a little bit, just to douse the cherry a little bit. I was showing you I didn't really need to do that, so. So I'm still doing it gently. You notice when I want to heat it up a little bit, what I do is I quicken my cadence and I take longer pulls. What's really good is if the pipe's like holding a cup of hot chocolate, Not when you first get the cup of hot chocolate, but when it's, you drunk about half of it and the cup's warm, but it's not hot. All right, well, I'm going to continue to go on down, and then I'm going to come back and tell you what happens at the middle of the bowl. Or not the middle, at the end of the bowl. Happy smoking.